Today, while I was working our food bank, I was helping sort out food and getting rid of the bad stuff so that we would have only good things for the team that's going to come in this afternoon and hand out. And there was this acorn squash that's moldy, squishy. When you picked it up, it just like collapsed in your hand kind of thing. So I decided to bring it home. It's good for my chickens. They like the seeds that's in it and all that. But I wanted to see if I could salvage any of it. And I was able to get some pretty good pieces here that I'm going to cook. So this is one way that you can salvage food. If you go to a food bank, make friends with the people that hand it out. Or if you can volunteer at one, that's even better. If you have the time and you're willing to put a little bit of work into cutting things up and finding the parts that are good, you can salvage some food this way that's beneficial to your household. And if you have animals, then you get chicken food or whatever the animal is that could eat the scraps, vegetable scraps.
Place the squash cut side down on a baking pan or a cookie sheet. Here I'm using my rotisserie air fryer oven because it's small and I don't have very much. So I'm using my small oven. Bake it on 350 for about 30-40 minutes until it's soft. Then once it's cool, you can remove the skin. The squash can be used for anything that you would use, pumpkin, sweet potato, anything like that. You can use this squash in place of it. Here I'm going to be making a soup. My mother-in-law taught me how to make this to use up produce and vegetables from the garden that maybe weren't perfect, got a little big, were extra, and she would make them into this soup that my children loved, and she would serve a small bowl of it before lunch and before dinner, and they thought it was such a special treat. In keeping with salvaging everything that we can, all of the scraps will go into the chicken box and they will have themselves a little feast. I have the equivalent here of about 1 acorn squash. I don't have an exact recipe, but for this soup I used 2 not very large potatoes, peeled, cut into cubes with about a half an onion. Put enough water in the pot to just not quite come up to the top of your potatoes and onions. Sprinkle a little bit of salt in there and go ahead and simmer it until it's very, very soft. Once it's done, you puree it with your immersion blender, or if you do not have an immersion blender, you can put this in a regular blender, or if you want it a little bit chunky, you could use a potato masher and mash it all up. We like it pureed. We don't like any chunks in it. It's a nice smooth soup. And then you add milk until you get it to the consistency that you like. Salt and pepper it to taste. My children think this is an amazing treat and have even asked for it as adults. And it's made with various vegetables. Here I'm using a acorn squash, but you can use broccoli. You can use any vegetable really that you need to use up.
I put enough water in there till it's, up to the top of the vegetables. They're still sticking out a little bit, but you don't want too much. You don't want to cover it. And then I'm going to add a little bit of salt. And again, this recipe isn't something that I have a measurement to. I can try. I'm just using sea salt. And I will put this on to simmer until everything is very soft.
Once your vegetables are completely cooked, they'll be very, very soft, like you see this piece of potato here, and it'll smush really easily. Then you'll take your immersion blender and you'll puree everything that's in the pot into a nice smooth mixture. Once it's all pureed to your desired texture, then you'll just take some milk, and here I'm using some fresh milk that we picked up from a farm, and you add enough milk to give it the desired consistency that you're looking for. Sometimes adding milk to the soup cools it down more than you'd like, so if necessary, heat it back up for a little bit before pouring it into your bowls. You can top it with some salt and pepper if you'd like, and this makes a wonderful little appetizer to any lunch or dinner. Enjoy!